Hey everybody, Neil Thompson from Teach the Geek here. I work with technical professionals so they can present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And you can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. I was thinking about engineers and technical people, scientists, that type of thing, people in STEM, and the issues that they can have with giving presentations or public speaking generally. And if there's something that the organizations they work for can do to help them, and even more simply than that, why they would bother, why those organizations would bother assisting those technical people in improving their presentation skills. And it reminded me back when I worked as an engineer and had to give presentations in front of senior management. I had to do this on a monthly basis. And those presentations were pretty rough. I wasn't all that great at conveying information to these non-technical decision makers. And looking back on it, having this difficulty really could have been helped with the company providing some sort of assistance for the technical people, especially since it was mostly technical people who had to give these monthly presentations. It was what was called product development meetings, and it was the top people, the top brass in the company, all the C-level people would sit in a room and listen to all the projects that were being completed at the company or executed at the company and their project status updates. And it was typically the engineers who were the head of product development who were the ones giving the presentations. And that made sense because it was us that were basically driving all the product development. So the top brass people wanted to hear from us as to where the project, where we were with the project. And as I mentioned, my presentations weren't all that great. I would get a whole lot of questions afterwards that I thought I'd answered during the presentation, but because I didn't put things in a way that these C-level people could understand, well, things were getting missed, and I guess there was a lot of miscommunication and just crossed wires. It was a mess. And I used to sit in on some of the other presentations that the engineers did that were also leading projects, and their presentations weren't all that much better than mine. And I think a lot of it could have been avoided. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but my project ultimately was canceled. And looking back on this, and this is over 15 years ago at this point, what could I possibly have saved that project if I was just better at communicating the importance of it and how it could be of benefit to the company? Because I can assure you, I was not thinking about that when I was giving those presentations back then. But I very much should have, because typically those C-level people, that's what they care about. How does this benefit the company? But I wasn't thinking about that at the time. If the company had provided some sort of training for these technical people who they knew had to give presentations on a monthly basis, training on how best to convey information to different types of audiences, how to convey information to the C-level people or to customers or even other people within the organization, other stakeholders. Well, maybe we would have had more presentations that were impactful, more persuasive presentations that were useful to the people that we were actually talking to. But because we didn't have such training, we were left to our own devices to figure it out. Well, many of us never did. I mean, as I mentioned, my project got canceled, and after that, then I had to figure things out on my own. But wouldn't it have been so much helpful if the company had provided resources for us to get skilled in giving those types of presentations in the first place? Maybe less projects would have been canceled, like my own. Maybe I could have saved it. We'll never know, I suppose. So hopefully for those who are listening to me ramble on right now, and you work at an organization that has a whole lot of technical people who you want to hear from, who you want to hear communicate whatever they're working on, and it really benefit you to understand what they're saying, well, maybe it makes sense to provide some sort of speaker training for them so they get more skilled in presenting to various audiences, become more persuasive, become more, well, provide more useful presentations. Some food for thought. Hopefully that's been helpful. Again, my name is Neil Thompson. I am the founder of Teach the Geek. I work with technical professionals so they can present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And you can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. Until next time, take care and stay safe.